holding yourself accountable is so important. And I think maybe that's one of the biggest psychological hurdles I've had to overcome. So like over the past 5 months, it's been so interesting. When I jumped, I didn't exactly jump into it. And I think that's the way that most people, sorry, I should reframe that. I think that's most people's experience, that nobody really like fully just like dives head first. And often when you do, you fall back or you fall out of habits that you're trying to develop because it feels like, I don't know, it's sort of like this pressure that you put on yourself. And I had to continue to remind myself that this wasn't like a boot camp. It was a wellness journey. And the purpose is not necessarily to find myself the thinnest that I've ever been, which I think, because my background, of course, I've worked in fashion, I've worked in styling. And so like, thinness was sort of like always the goal, even for me as a cisgendered male. But it was more like, okay, well, like what's a all-rounded wellness that I can take into the next decade of my life? I'm about to turn 37 this year, a couple more years until I'm 40. And so I think that in a roundabout way, I'm going to come back to your question, but like I wanted to start off by saying that it wasn't an immediate thing. So I think that the immediate thing that I noted was the first 2 months were terrible. First 3 months. We started December, really. So December, January, February, out there like doing all the things, working out, did some great strength things, like strong Pilates, which I think was absolutely incredible. And I think that Pilates is something that I would like to build more into my general wellness routine based on time. But I wasn't really changing my diet. And I wasn't really changing my other habits, like sleeping and, just sort of like trying to be an all-rounded well person. What I was doing instead was I was just thinking that, okay, if I just do strong Pilates and burn 1,000 calories a day, then I'll be good, and I'll get some muscle strength or whatever. It increased my flexibility for sure. I did lose a bit of weight, but it was really minimal because I wasn't making an effort. Come about March, thanks to this process actually, and because holding yourself accountable is so important. And I think maybe that's one of the biggest psychological hurdles I've had to overcome. Because often, unless you're like a superhuman being, you can't hold yourself accountable. It's almost impossible. You need, we talk about accountability partners. Sometimes that works, but I think that you got to find what's right for your personality. And I think that because I've also engaged in media for so much of my life, and my life has been really like public, whether it was here or in other countries that I've lived in, my accountability seems to work best when it's spread out amongst people. And that's when I'm like accountable to people I don't even know, I don't know. If that's a cultural thing, because shame is such a big part of Fijian culture. But I do know that really helped. So coming around March, I was like, oh no, I better start like actually doing something, because people are reading these articles, they're watching these videos, they're following me on social media, and I need to do something. So that was the sort of like the psychological hurdle was sort of like jumping into this space of accountability, of sort of like, and almost like taking accountability outside of myself to bring it into myself. And I think that a lot of people we do that. Human beings do that because we're gregarious. We involve ourselves with lots of other people, with relationship. And I think that our relationship to ourselves can sometimes be defined by the things that are around us, regardless of what anybody else says. So that was that. My mental health now is actually so much better. I think that's a broader conversation, and I'm jumping from like March to now. But based on the various changes that I made from March to today, which is almost the end of May, we're about to head into June, I started to make some really sort of like decided changes. So sleeping better, for example, ensuring there's a thing called 75 hard. I'm not doing that, but ensuring that I read every night before I go to sleep, that I wake up and I have spiritual time. I pray. So for me, it's prayer. So, I have that time for myself in the morning. Ensuring that, broadly speaking, and I don't do this every day because I go out a lot as well, but trying to get to bed as early as possible. Some days now, like I pass out at 8 p.m. because my body feels comfortable in itself to put me to sleep, because my mind is not racing. And a big part of that also has been committing to a workout program. People talk about the endorphins that are released when you exercise, and it's true. But I think that sometimes we want that hit immediately, but that's more like a dopamine thing, right? So like we want the hit, like I want it like right now. If I go for like one run today or one walk today, I want to feel that right now. But it's a build up, like everything else in life. I mean, like you have to give it time. So starting to like, I mean, I had that sort of foundation of starting to work out from December to about March to the end of February. And I had already started to develop that sense of sort of like calm and ease and, issues of anxiety. I had far, far less anxiety by that stage as well, because like the more you move your body, the less anxious you are. It's a very natural release. So my mental health is already improving. Once I combine that with sleeping well, with meditating or praying, with reading, and then with diet, when I start to eliminate the foods that I know don't work well for my body, I mean, and everybody's different. And I'm not going to come here and advocate for any particular style of diet, but for me personally, things like wheat, they don't work for me. I'm not a celiac, I'm not gluten intolerant, but it just doesn't work for me. Rice is not great for me. Something about it, it spikes my insulin, it makes me restless. It's not good. I, at this point, follow a fairly low carb diet, and that works for me. I have more energy. It can be counterintuitive to some people, but I think that's the point of a wellness journey, is to find what works for your body. Now, what I found worked for me was if I have solid amounts of protein, lots of vegetables, lots of probiotics in the form of fermented foods, or also things like Yakult or yogurt or whatever, those things are what nourish me best. Combine that with sleep, with meditation or spiritual practice, with reading and learning and exercise. It does something to you. You have better mental clarity. You have in a better place emotionally. And it's a symbiotic relationship. It's sort of circular. Once those things work, then you want to keep doing everything else, So then you want to potentially, so I train twice a day at the moment on Mondays and Thursdays, and every other day once a day. So I move my body every single day, 7 days a week. So even if I just go for a really long walk, so sometimes on Sundays, my lovely friend Blessing and my partner Eli and I will pick a hiking trail and go for a hike for like an hour, 2 hours or whatever. So even if it's something like super easy like that, I just do that. Even if I just like walk around the harbor, walk around the city, I do. But in terms of like solid workouts, like I feel really good if I do 2 workouts a day now. So I suppose it all works together. I'm emotionally in a better place. Psychologically, I think a lot stronger. And physically, what's great is that I've lost 13 kilos. Now that I think is fabulous. I've also, been doing measurements and blah, 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 whatever. My BMI is down, my body fat percentage is down. But what's been really, really useful is that I have lost 13 kilos, but of those 13 kilos, only 0.5 kgs or 500 grams was muscle mass. So I've essentially maintained my muscle mass because I've been doing so much strength training, which I do like 5 days a week. It's really, really good. Yeah, sure. Every 2 months is good. I think that the major challenges that you face when anybody's like trying to do this wellness thing, right? It's like it's psychological. It's convincing yourself that it's going to work, getting over predetermined notions that you hold. So I assumed, because my body has changed a lot. When people who are in the late 30s, people who are like in their mid 30s and heading towards 40 will also attest to this. Your body does change, and even the shape of your body changes. Your body reacts differently to different things. It's very strange what happens, really. And so I'd convinced myself that I couldn't lose weight. So when we first started the journey, and this was off the back of eating very unhealthy for like a solid block of time and like not really moving as much as I should have or whatever, it was really hard to shift the weight. And so I just convinced myself that, there's going to be like little to no progress. Getting over that like psychological hurdle and understanding that actually, if I've taken my body to a place that is unhealthy, I can undo that. It's like, when you sort of like tie a rope, right? I mean, you can untie it. So it was just a matter of getting over that. That was the hardest thing. The physical is not so difficult. I mean, because like you start somewhere and then you just get stronger, right? I mean, your body learns. And I used to exercise and work out a lot when I was younger. So there's also muscle memory. I mean, even if you didn't when you were younger, it's fine. I mean, you start somewhere, even if you start with like a 2 kg dumbbell, you'll eventually build up to like a 5. You know what I mean, or whatever. Whereas I'm better with strength. So like the heavier that things got, the stronger that I felt in my body, and that was fine. But it was getting over the idea that I couldn't do it anymore, or that like there might be a limit to how far I can take it. But a strange thing happens. Like if you just push through it a little bit, suddenly, and suddenly it just starts to happen, because all the various, and this is just opinion, it's not based on any sort of science, but all the various sort of like molecular structures and systems of your body just sort of fall into alignment. And again, I think it is about balancing out those things: your diet, your sleep, your spiritual or your meditation practice, learning something new every day, and exercising. If you can do those 5 things, and if you can work them in, and it's not hard, when you really think about it. And again, that's another psychological challenge. I mean, if you even worked out once a day, that's like an hour of your life, and that's not a long time. If you read 10 pages of a book, that's like, I'm a quick reader, so that's about like 15 minutes maybe. But let's say that's like half an hour of your life. If you want to do a little meditation, it's like 5 hours of breath work or prayer or whatever. It's like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. 5 hours is a long time. And sleep is sleep. You got to sleep. And food is food. You got to eat. So they're just things that you can just build into your life. So yeah, I think that the hardest thing is psychological. I think in order to stay motivated, that's you know what, it's a good question, motivation. I think it's accepting the fact that sometimes you just won't be, and that's fine. Just get up and do it anyway. And we can't rely on motivation as an emotion. We have to consider motivation as a fact. Does that make sense? Like we can't, if we relied completely on our emotions, we wouldn't do anything. We'd fall apart. Getting past that and sort of just being like, okay, well, I can't, like this, I might not feel good, I might not feel like it, but I know what's good. We're intelligent beings created with intellect. We should sort of prioritize, particularly when it comes to wellness, what we know over what we feel. And the two will come into alignment. Often, people say the hardest part is putting your shoes on. It's actually true. Get a pair of shoes that you like and just like and wear those, and eventually it gets there. I think that's how you do it. You just have to accept that motivation is not always a feeling. It's a thought. Yeah, I mean, like, you can't really, some people say that they're like naturally motivated people. I don't think that's actually true. I don't think that anybody is actually naturally motivated. I think that there are just some people who make the decision every day to do something. And I think that that's what you do, because because everything's a decision. Even to do the opposite is a decision. So does that mean that if I choose today, for example, to abandon this entire thing and just live my life in a way that's really not good for my body, not good for my wellness, not good for my mind or my emotions or whatever, does that mean that I am motivated then to live that life? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, it's not. It's decisions, and not every day is a happy, wonderful day. Some days are harder than others, but you tell yourself that you'll get through the day better if you just focus on the things that'll keep you well. Because if you are well inside of yourself, your world is well. Well, I'm very lucky in that my partner Eli and I do a lot of life together. Having a good partner is always useful, of course, and I know that that's not always the case, and there are many people who are watching who don't necessarily do that, but like just have that in their lives. But everybody's got a good friend, everybody's got a good circle of friends. Just make sure that you're around people who want to see you, be the best version of yourself, and that doesn't mean like breaking yourself down or beating yourself into the ground because you're not exactly where you want to be. Or like I said in the beginning, wellness there's no sort of destination to wellness. It's just ongoing life journey. Like, I think just surround yourself with people who acknowledge that that's what wellness is, and people who want to see you flourish, again, emotionally, psychologically, and physically. And again, I'm lucky because, it happens to be my partner and the person that I live with. My mother also, to be honest, has always been incredibly fit. And she has her ways of talking about it because she's a woman from the island. So she, she'll just be like, you've gone fat, which is completely fine. Like, I get that too. But I think that, I think that just having sort of that people who are sort of like those positive wellness warriors that are going to like do it with you. You need that. If anybody wants to do a wellness journey, the first thing is like, don't think you're going to dive into it. Just relax and just like acknowledge first, like, and I didn't do this, but acknowledge first, like calmly and peacefully to yourself, within yourself, that the reasons that you want to do it. Understand that if you don't feel well, which I didn't, I now realize, it's not necessarily just because you've put on weight or because you feel tired and lethargic or blah, blah, blah. It's a combination of all of those things, of your sleep, your eating, your exercise, your spiritual practice, and your learning, of your everyday learning. So like if you can get the 5 things in, like, or start to make a plan towards doing those 5 things, even if it's incredibly incremental, it's a good place to start. And then from that point on, just build on it. You can't just dive in. If you dive in, you're going to fail. Like, it'll be exhausting. And also forgive yourself for not sticking to it initially. And also the other thing is, particularly if you're trying to lose weight, which I am, if you're trying to lose weight and it doesn't come off immediately, just keep doing it. And then eventually it just happens. It's such an interesting thing. So wellness is an industry, and it's important not to get caught up in the idea of the wellness industry, because there's a lot coming at us at the moment, primarily because a lot of people in the developed world, like Australia, are overweight. We know that for a fact. And we know that there are many health issues that surround that, yes, but also there's a lot of social pressure that comes with that as well on people who are overweight. Everybody who's overweight wants to lose weight. Everybody. I mean, like, I think, or wants to get healthy. It's like a natural part of the human condition, generally speaking, or everybody wants to get healthy. And so there's a lot of information that comes at you. It's this constant, do this, do that, run, do this diet, do that diet, do this meal plan, whatever. It's everything. Do as much cardio as possible, like beat your body into the ground. And I think that prior to this, I looked at wellness as fitness. And I think that the two things are kind of different because, like, I think that the idea of wellness and fitness being conflated is dangerous, because you can start to think that you're an athlete. Now, if it were my job to be an athlete, or if it were your job or anybody's job to be an athlete, that's different, right? I mean, your body then becomes your tool towards achieving something. My body's purpose is to give me a vessel to experience the world that I live in its completeness and its wholeness, and to be able to do that for as long as possible, and to not restrict me from being able to access the world fully. Now, that means that I don't necessarily have to challenge my body to beat a record, or I don't have to challenge my body to be able to do something, that's never been done before. I just need to be well. And in order to be well, I need balance. And that's where those other things, I keep talking about them, but it's a real thing, those 5 things. If you can balance those 5 things out, you become well. You do. Like, it's like a natural reaction of the body and of the mind, because we're sort of these 3-part beings of like mind, emotion, and body, right? If you get those 3 things in alignment based on those 5 things that I was talking about before, you feel better in yourself. If you feel better in yourself, you're trying to lose weight, the weight will come off. You'll know what to do. Suddenly you won't want to eat as much. Your stomach will change. This whole thing about the gut microbiome that I'll be writing about, based on a documentary that I watched about, it's called Hack Your Health, The Secrets of Your Gut. If you start to change the elements of your body, your chemistry changes. The bacteria that lives in your gut changes. You start to crave different foods. You also start to enjoy things like going out for a walk, because it's not a chore anymore. It's like, it's a part of you having a balanced life and a way for you to enjoy the world that your body is allowing you to enjoy. So I think that that's the primary change so far, is that I don't necessarily see wellness as fitness anymore. I see wellness as an all-rounded way of being, so that I can be my fullest self in the world. And wellness is not an industry. It's a personal move of life. For the next few months, it's going to be very interesting. So consistency is one of the things, right? And like, the purpose of doing this with Balance the Grind in particular, which has been fantastic, is finding the things that I actually like to do now. which are different to the things that I liked to do then. So like when I was in my 20s, I used to run. I enjoyed it. So I used to do, I think, 7 kilometers a day or whatever, right? And I used to really, really enjoy it when I lived in Sydney then. I don't like running anymore. I just don't. It's just not for me. It hurts my knees. I don't know, something about it, it just kills me. It's just not good. But through this process, what I've been doing is I've been doing these various classes. And when I do the classes, because there are so many options for us now, and it's such convenience, right? I've been finding things that I actually enjoy. One of the things I've learned through BoxFit with Grant was I enjoy boxing. And I also enjoy a little bit of resistance with that. So I found now hustle boxing, which I'll also be writing about soon. I currently also enjoy, and I always have, and that's something that's never changed, is I enjoy strength training. So I'm back in the gym doing the usual compound movements, squats, presses, deadlifts, along with everything else that goes with it. And I really enjoy that. So that'll continue to happen. I did swim for a little bit, but it's far too cold for me to swim now, so I shan't be doing that. The next thing that I would like to try, because I would like to up my cardio a little bit, because I think it's a fallacy to think that you can just do weights. I think that you need to do a bit of cardio as well to keep everything moving and healthy. I'm going to try spin, which is going to be very interesting because I actually hate bicycles, but it's going to be fabulous. And we'll see if that's something that I want to build into the journey moving forward. So in the months to come, it'll be more classes, it'll be different meal plans, and it'll just be trying to figure out like, what are the things that I want to keep? So far what I figured out I want to keep is I'd like to keep boxing, I'd like to keep weight training, and I would like to build in at least one Pilates class a week. So those are 3 things that I 100% want to do. The next thing is to try and discover what cardio I like. Because if I'm not swimming, because I really enjoy swimming, but I'm not doing that right now because I don't want to freeze to death. But so like I need to find what is the cardio that I actually like to do. So that's the goal. Find the cardio. Everyone can follow me on Instagram, of course, fuzz.ali. Of course, Balance the Grind. All of the updates will be shared through Balance the Grind as well. And yeah, DM me, ask me questions. I feel very zen today. I don't know if I'll feel this way like in like a couple of months, but let's see what happens.